The USA invaded Afghanistan in 2001 and succeeded in removing the Taliban group from power, but it never could win the war. It kept fighting until it withdrew from the country empty-handed, while the Taliban regained almost complete control after they took over Kabul city. In 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, and after a war that lasted almost 9 years, it couldn't get anything from Afghanistan either. It also withdrew from the country. And before that, Great Britain fought 3 wars with Afghanistan and lost all of them without gaining anything. The population of this country is estimated at 38 million people, and its surface area is estimated at 656,000 square kilometers, with a relatively low population density. So why couldn't any of these great powers dominate this country? And why is it called the Graveyard of Empires? We will answer these questions with details, so stay with us until the end. Throughout history, many powerful countries tried to invade Afghanistan, but they failed and eventually left the country. And this is due to many reasons. First of all, there is the geographical location. Afghanistan borders 6 countries: Iran, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, China, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan. And when you look at the map, you realize that it is one of the countries that doesn't have access to any sea. And if any country decides to invade, it has to pass through one of these countries to build a military base there, in addition to having full support from them. And if one country succeeds in overcoming this obstacle, it has to face the difficult terrain of this country. Mountains cover 70% of this country. One of these important mountains is the Hindu Kush mountain range, which makes the mission of controlling Afghanistan a very difficult task. The Afghans always used these mountains as a refuge and a base when they were invaded by other countries. Going through these mountains is a very difficult mission, even for the most powerful militaries in the world. Afghan fighters live in these mountains and spread their military bases there. And one of the most important reasons also is the poor condition of roads. When the US military invaded Afghanistan, there were only 50 kilometers of paved roads in the country. And because of the difficult terrain, as we said before, the road construction cost about $5 million for each mile. And this amount of money couldn't be afforded by Afghanistan. But the Afghans used this weakness in their favor. The most important road in Afghanistan is the Khyber Pass. It connects Afghanistan through the Hindu Kush to Pakistan. It has been a vital trade route and a strategic military choke point for the USA and the Taliban to bring weapons and arms. But in 2009, the Taliban decided to launch a series of attacks on this route, which led to a blockade for the US military, which made them choose alternative roads from other countries, and that cost them a lot of money. In the Soviet war period, Afghan fighters besieged Soviet fighters in places they couldn't escape from, and they killed them. Then the Afghan fighters escaped to the mountains and hid there, and the Soviets couldn't find them. And another reason also is the ethnic diversity of this country, which is divided into different groups such as Pashtuns, Tajiks, Uzbeks, etc. Afghanistan does not recognize borders. They consider all neighboring countries their lands. When they are attacked by anyone, they go to their relatives in the neighboring countries like Pakistan and Iran, and none of the invading countries follow them because of the agreements between countries. The border between Pakistan and Afghanistan has only 135 routes, which has facilitated the smuggling of arms and drugs for the Afghans to fund their activities. In January 2021, Pakistan announced the completion of the fencing of the border, leaving only 12 passages. However, this fencing may not be respected by the Afghans, who have a different conception of the border. The fencing may reduce the illegal immigration, but it may not stop the flow of weapons and narcotics. The population of Afghanistan is distributed across the land, and each tribe or group controls a specific region. This means that the invaders have to fight in different fronts, and they cannot secure their victory by capturing the capital Kabul. The Afghans have a decentralized and flexible system of resistance, and they can regroup and counterattack after being defeated in one area. The war in Afghanistan does not depend on the power of arms, but on the power of money. Afghanistan is the world's largest producer of opium, which accounts for more than 80% of the global supply. Opium is a harmful plant that produces the illegal drug heroin. The local fighters use this product as a source of income to finance their military activities. This is why the Taliban movement is considered one of the richest non-state actors. However, now it is not a non-state actor anymore. It has taken over Kabul and most of the country. The Afghan fighters also share their profits with the farmers, who support them in return. Let us now go back through history and summarize the global powers that tried to invade Afghanistan but failed. We have Great Britain, which fought 3 wars with the Afghans and ended up with defeat. The first attempt was in 1839, then 1878, and the last one was in 1919. After these wars, Great Britain recognized Afghanistan as an independent state, and they were forced to withdraw from the country. But after the end of World War II, and during the Cold War, the Soviet Union decided to invade Afghanistan when they saw that the situation was unstable and it would be an easy target. But after about 10 years, they were forced to withdraw as well. Some experts and analysts consider that this war was the main reason for the collapse of the Soviet Union. This war gave rise to the Taliban movement, which changed the map of the country forever. And when this movement came to power, it got involved in a confrontation with the USA. The Taliban harbored Al-Qaeda, the terrorist organization that carried out the 9/11 attacks, which resulted in the collapse of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. So the USA decided to send its troops to Afghanistan. But after spending more than $2 trillion and staying for 20 years, it did not achieve its objectives. And eventually, it decided to leave the country empty-handed. All these countries attacked Afghanistan at the peak of their power, and none of them got what they wanted. They only wasted money and lives and destabilized the country. In the end, we hope that Afghanistan will enjoy freedom and prosperity and resolve its problems before any internal conflict erupts again, because this will only be a new nightmare for Afghanistan and the world.